agreement. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at what it means for words to agree with each other in a sentence. This type of agreement is all about numbers, whether we are dealing with one person, thing or idea, or multiple people, things or ideas. We are going to talk only about what? Tricky problems, okay? Not all the agreement as we studied before. And let us go first to the what? To the plural singulars. One kind of agreement question that the SAT will occasionally test students on is tricky singulars. Basically, tricky plurals are just words that seem like they might be plural, but are actually singular. Let us take a look at these examples. The crowd. It sounds like plural, but we deal with as singular, okay? The crowd cheers, so the verb is here. The crowd cheers wildly as the players make their way into the stadium. So here, crowd is one of the words, like you still remember, team, group, which sound very plural, but we deal with as what? As singular. In this sentence, we have got the subject crowd and the verb cheers. It might be tempting to think of the crowd as what? As plural. After all, there are presumably lots of people making up this crowd. But the crowd itself is just one thing, remember this. It is singular regardless of how many people are actually in the crowd. Because we are talking in this sentence about what? Remember this and circle it. About the crowd as what? As a whole. The group as a whole. The team as a whole. Let us take the first question. While the team are checking into the hotel, the coach will get them all dinner. Of course, team, خلاص احنا we understand in this is what? A collective noun. We talked about it before, يا هاجر, as what? As collective noun. So the team, excellent, is. Do you have any problem with that? Let us go with the group. The group of students, and as we always say, try to cross out the prepositional phrase. This part is prepositional phrase. We don't need it. So the main subject is what? Is the group. That's the main subject. And the verb are, of course, this is wrong. It has to be what? It has to be is. I don't have to talk much about it, right? Now we understand. Then, separating subject, verb, pronoun. One of the tricky things the SAT likes to do is separate the subject of a sentence from its verb or pronoun. And that kind of separation, we call it what? We call it distraction. SAT people, they are trying to what? To distract us. It's usually easier to tell what kind of verb or pronoun you need when it's right next to the subject. If you have got a subject very close to the verb, it's easy to what? To figure out the agreement. But if there is something in between, that's the problem, okay? And the SAT knows that very well. So they like to keep things a little more complicated by setting up sentences like this. Let us take a look. Okay, the first one. Piazza del Duomo. What's Piazza del Duomo? That's the subject. And here is what? Starting from here, we have got a comma and another comma here. So most probably this part is extra information, right? Extra information. Info. Piazza del Duomo, or Duomo, whatever, the open square that is both the geographic and cultural center of the city contains many examples. Contains many examples of breaking architecture. Contains, that's the verb. And then we have got here and. You remember, we need what sort of parallelism? So if here contains, we need another singular verb. But this verb is wrong. It has to be what? It has to be is. Clear or not? I want to see your yes. So in that case, ya shabab, we have to be careful about what? About, as we said before, ya Amr, ya Salah, and but. Whenever we see them, We need to what? To think of the parallelism. What's before and what's after. This is very important. Drill question number 1. Only a small group of ancient structures remain intact in Milan, tracing the city back to its roots as the Roman colony. Who's going to do this one? Should the underlying verb be plural or singular? Who can tell? Do I go for remain or remains? You are the one to tell. Omar Ayman, singular, exactly. So here, let us do it this way, ya shabab. Of ancient structures, this is prepositional phrase. So forget about it. So the main subject here is what? A small group. That's the main subject. And the verb remain. So it has to be what? Singular. So it has to be remains. You just add an S here. Clear? Clear? Great. Drill question 2. Dennis, in agreement with the other board members, and let us remember this one, comma to comma, but this part is extra information. Where is the main subject? Dennis. The verb are, which is what? Completely wrong. So we have to go again for what? For the singular. Thank you. Question number 1. In the Southern Ocean, for instance, researchers studying the temperature changes of water has discovered more evidence for increased rate of global warming. Waiting for your answer. You need first to spot the verb and the subject. Where is the subject? Thank you very much. The subject is researchers. Thank you very much. What about in the Southern Ocean? That's prepositional phrase. For instance, forget about it. What about studying temperature changes of water? This is what? This is a modifying phrase. It modifies what? It modifies the researchers. يبقى researchers, this is the subject, and has, this is the verb, which is wrong. So we need to go for what? We need to go for B. Thank you. Have discovered. Hajar. Because of the indecision of each of the factory managers, the excess pounds of iron currently lying in heaps have no place to be stored. Waiting for you, Hajar. Of course, indecision means what? Inability to make decisions. Okay, tell me. Hajar, she said no change. Do you agree with her? So because of the indecision of each of the factory managers, this has nothing to do with the subject-verb agreement, okay? So the main subject here, as Hajar said, the excess pounds, okay? The excess pounds. And then of iron lying in heaps, this is what, ya binti, this is prepositional phrase. Thank you. And then, ya Zahwa, we have got have. Have goes with what? With the excess pounds, okay? But this is A, correct as is. Correct as is. Number 3, major disorders discussed in the extensive and fascinating textbook on behavioral science was depression. Here was, that's the verb, right? Where is the subject? Waiting for your answers. A. Do you agree with A? B. Type. Here, and I'm gonna go for this, ya Amr. Major disorders. This is the main subject. Discussed in the extensive and fascinating textbook on behavioral sciences. This is modifying, write it down, ya Amr. Modifying phrase. So it's not a verb, by the way. So if all this is a modifying phrase, so we'll go for what? Major disorders were. You got it? So we have to go for what? We have to go for B. Clear? Let us go to number 4. And I need Zahwa. During the class, field trip to the zoo. The options of what animal to see first was loudly debated by the students. Tell me يا بنتي. Let us agree يا زهوة in this part that's prepositional phrase, okay? During the class field to the zoo, just forget about it. The main subject is the options. This is the main subject. What about of what animal to see first? That's again prepositional phrase. Safe Ahmed. Okay, great. That's prepositional phrase. And then we have got the verb here, was. Do you like the verb here, ya Zahwa, or you go for something else? Zahwa, waiting for your answer. Ahmed Hassan. Thank you, Zahwa. Thank you very much. Were loudly debated. So in that case, we'll go this way. The options of whatsoever were loudly debated. Thank you. Number 5. Classic English literature. And then we have got a comma here and a comma here, whatever. Such as the works of Dickens, Austen, and Bronte sisters. Okay, this part is non-essential extra information. Non-essential extra information. Call it whatever you want to call. So classic English literature, Yanada, were, that's the verb. So here this is the subject and this is the verb. Of course they are not in agreement at all. In that case we'll go for was. Thank you very much. Then let us go to the last sentence here. This distortion, subject, results in verb significant differences in mass that both produces a new molecular structure and reduces the size of the beds that can be analyzed. We have got subject verb here, which is fine. Both are correct. Significant differences in mass. These significant differences, you understand the point? These significant differences, يبقى here you might think the noun is mass. Some people, Abdullah, will say what? The noun Mr. is mass. Until you realize that mass just describe what yabni, the differences. So it's not the subject itself. So the subject is what yabni, is the significant differences that, which is plural of course, that produce and whatever. So we have to go for B. Thank you, yeah, Abdullah. Thank you, Ziyad. You understand. And the rest is going to be homework, so please complete this as homework. Thank you very much.